Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this webinar edition organized by the Singapore FinTech Festival and BPC. I'm glad to be your host today. My name is Nadia Benaissa, I'm the Marketing Director at BPC. BPC is a leader in banking and payment solutions, serving over 300 financial and government institutions in 90 countries. We design digital banking platforms for greenfield banks as well as spin-offs in the region and beyond. And I'd like to share that the most frequent demands that we receive these days are no longer how to build a digital bank, but most often now how to build super apps, which prompted us to organize this webinar. So the webinar today is entitled The New Face of Digital Banks, from banks to super apps. We will talk about trends, new value proposition, use cases from around the world. We will look behind the curtains into the concept of the future digital banks, which is completely shifting towards serving the customer everywhere, becoming super app, especially in times of pandemic, where digital is no longer a nice to have, but a must. This year is definitely the year of change. And what a year it has been for people, businesses, and financial institutions. So times of crisis, as you know, always go with challenges. However, they also means that it's time to change your business model, to adapt fast and become more agile as ever, as customer behaviors are changing. There are lots of newcomers coming into the market, and especially in the APAC region, as you know, in Singapore, in Malaysia, with new banking licenses being granted. And you must watch out as well for the launch of Tonic Bank, which is happening this week in the Philippines, which BBC and Radar Payments, our processing company, are very proud to power as well. With more players, so banks, big techs, telcos, corporates getting into the scene, I think that thinking through your digital banking strategy has never been so important to win the customer. And I'm sure that today's session will be both interesting and useful to you. Without spending any more time, I would like to introduce our guest. So today I'm joined by Oleg Patsiansky, head of digital banking at BBC, who will share his vision of the future digital bank and super apps. Welcome, Oleg.
Thank you, Nadia.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, my name is Oleg Patsansky. I work for BPC as a head of digital banking, and today's session is dedicated to the super apps as one of the most important advantages when building the digital bank, but it's not the only one. And we will start from the very beginning. What's going on right now? What is the landscape, and what are the modern trends in the industry? So hopefully.
To get started, I'd like to introduce as well Mr. Sokha, Senior Advisor, Digital Financial Services, Banking Operation and Technology at Bank SBI Lihur, joining us from Cambodia. Welcome, Mr. Sokha.
Good afternoon, Nadia. Thank you for the nice introduction.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Sokha, for being with us. So just for our panelists and attendees, make sure that this session is made to be interactive. So feel free to use the Q&A box. If you have any questions, we will address them at the end of the session. We will also share with you a new guide that Oleg actually has been producing with the team at BPC, as well as a research agency specialized in neobanks and the concept of building new digital banks. So make sure to download this report. It's a free complimentary report which we will share at the end of this session. So I guess we are now I will give the floor to Oleg. Oleg, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Nadia. Well, today's session is about how to properly build a digital bank, and there is one important advantage that we will go into details about the super app capability. But first, let me start from the very beginning and the the overall landscape actually is changed a lot. And we are now probably in the maturity stage of digital banking as the industry. And we've seen that there are remarkable number of rounds of investments for the unicorns like Oak North, Nubank, Judo Bank. You know all of them, of course. They Revolut, Monzo, and N26 in Europe. And the number of players actually around the 50% of the startups were funded between 2016 and 17. That is a clear indication that we are currently in the maturity stage for a digital bank. And of course, the customer base is growing. And by 2023, Europe's neobanks may win up to 85 million customers. That's reaching over 20% of the population over the age of 14. The similar prediction exists for the US, Singapore, Australia, India, and Brazil. Taking this perspective, we see that the digital banking is no longer a theory. But when we look in the past, and when we look at the picture right now, what the world representation of digital banking entities here and there, we still see that the majority of them coming from the Northern America and Europe, and they actually setting the trends in the industry. Interesting part about it that probably in 2019, 2020, the trends coming from Asia Pacific are actually taking over some of the territories, some of the countries, and the way they build the applications, the way um, the way they reach their customer bases is quite different, and it appears to be a little bit more interesting. And specifically in super app as the definition, the super app capability or super app framework, probably the most interesting part of it and the most visible one. So if we look at the past, actually digital bank is not the new entity that appeared just in a couple of years or 10 years back. Its roots back in 2000s, and the first one was considered to be coming out of North America, and later on the concept taking over the planet by the storm. And you can see that this is, of course, this is not a complete map of all the entities represented today, but these are the most visible, the most famous, and we will see what's going on with them. So we currently have something like the pandemic effect. We do have new customers, but they still have old needs. And some people overlook this customer niches, but these during this time are probably more important than others because others are already banked and properly serviced. But we currently have freelancers and we are facing gig economy. And freelancers need additional support with tax calculations, withholding and employee benefits. We also have immigrants and expats. They need assistance in quickly opening accounts online as a newcomer and having access to savings and credit. And it's still the old need, but this is currently, I would say, became very visible. SMEs, this is the particular segment of customers that were that were hit by the pandemic really hard, and they need support needed in managing accounts receivable and payable. And of course, financing is probably the #1 question for them, and how to get the financing from the established institutions. And this is the most important question. For the minors and kids, they need the education-based bank for learning how to effectively budget, save, and build credit, and essentially to properly financially behave in this changing world. We also have elderly and at-risk adults. They need some customized support on access by power of attorney. Basically talking about very similar propositions to agent banking that exist in Asia Pacific region for years. And they also need custodianship, family trust. So supervised products is a big thing for them. And once the pandemic ends, of course, we still have travelers and they need ability to use a global account and card without additional fees or challenges. So still old needs, but for new customers. And digital banks really looking into this customer niches really seriously. So if we take a look, just a glimpse at Malaysia, and we think that Malaysia probably at the crossroads because the customers are waiting, and 74% of Malaysians currently interested in becoming a customer of a virtual bank, and 77% of them interested in additional services provided by banks beyond the usual financial product, and is being reported by Pricewaterhouse and Coopers. About 8% of the Malaysian population remains unbanked, and that digital banking solution can help reduce it to 5%. That's quite a big number. And Bank Negara Malaysia actually respond. And there are 5 digital banking license, FSA and EFSA compliance, simpler credit risk categorization happening with the liquidity requirements and defined asset threshold. It's all been delayed in the wake of COVID-19. And we are basically in 2021 that all this power of a digital banking regulation space will be unleashed. And I think we will see new players in the market, specifically in Malaysia, but there's similar things happening in other countries as well. Profitability. That's an interesting part of the discussion because these days, specifically investors are really cautious getting into the digital banking initiatives because they already see the performance of the existing ones. And this is the report from FinCorp from Netherlands, and this is just an extract of the information that they gathered about the European digital bank entities and some of the Latin Americas like Nubank. And you can see that the profitability is still under question for them. And there are several reasons. There are 4 of them that appear just on the surface, and I think everybody is aware of them already. So the first entrance into digital banking space were too much focused on customer acquisition. In fact, there is a statistics that's being collected about the digital banking entities in Europe, and they have lots of inactive customers, and there are some numbers that talking about probably 10 to 15% of all the customer base being active. They also have some limited product offerings that worked in the beginning, but now it's not. So the limited product creates the customer niche and services very specific need. But once the customer's been familiar with the service, they probably start looking at other alternatives, probably with cheaper rates and better product experience and so on. So for the digital bank to survive these days, limited product offering or just a couple of killer products is no longer a way to go. So the limited and non-exclusive usage by customers is probably the big concern for new entrants. Loyalty is not really that with the digital banks. Typical European customer may have 5 to 6 different digital banking apps sitting on his phone, and using them from time to time for specific transactions, for specific products, and switching between them is not that difficult. And we see that the profitability is in question, and the product that may drive the profitability for the digital bank is still in credit space. So if people are looking at starting the digital bank, the transaction fee is no longer a winning combination, and they need to take a really serious look at how to become profitable, providing the financing products or credit products of all sorts. Okay, so there are different ways to become profitable apart from credit. Building up the subscription-based marketplace, also one of the ways how to become profitable. And the models are quite different. Freemium models, first free, then premium services, and so on. This is still working, and we think that probably this will be the business model for the digital banks. Conversion rates to paying products, it's a visible shift when the first entrants started from conversion rates for cross-country transactions within the specific region. I'm talking about Europe primarily, and going away from these conversion rates to paying products is quite a big move for some. And I would say this is the very important step for them to go. And with limited product offerings, it may not be happening, and the infrastructure may not allow to do that. But anyway, this is the way to become profitable. Again, boosting lending to consumers and SMEs. Financing is a big thing. And combination of a business banking with the SME focus, we would say that probably it will be also one of the ways to become profitable very quickly. Branching into banking as a service, and of course, cutting on marketing expenses and going social. The success of the new bank going social first without that much spending on marketing efforts. Well, that's the model that anyone could look at and probably capitalize on that when establishing the new entrant. Getting into consolidation game, it's not a big thing anymore. So you can look at the landscape. Probably someone already started digital entity or a fintech organization. You can merge. You can merge them, and probably this will be the way to proceed with the digital banking services. And of course, looking for new emerging niches, new customers, old needs. So it's still the strategy to look at the customer base, to look really carefully at what customer need in this specific territory. The copycat strategy doesn't work anymore, and we need to take a close look to what the customers really need. And of course, diversifying, becoming cross-industry marketplaces. Well, there is a couple of examples about that. Well, we can talk about how neobanks respond to these challenges and in the way to profitability. So they speak to kids, to migrants, and to businesses. And Revolut started the Revolut Junior product for kids aged started from 7 to 17. The product is set up and funded by parents with card details on the back. Rewire, that's the digital banking entity. It provides services for migrants with a free Euro account with debit card. Associated, of course, the products like transfers, savings, and mortgages. And Open is the new entity that has multi-bank connectivity and provides business accounts for SMEs with automated accounting on top of it. So there are ways and there are different strategies happening in the market, and it always worth looking at them, how they perform and how they started and how they progress. And we also see that becoming marketplace is probably also very, very important, and super app capability is actually contributing to that really seriously. And DBS is a multinational institution, and for Asia Pacific, it's one of the major players, and they already marketplace for several years because they went through the digital transformation project. So they sell property, travel trips, cars and utilities from their homepage. Starling Bank is a little bit more focused on the financial industry and other partners that connected to that, but still they have insurance, utilities, HR services, credit score, security, and so on. So it's no longer a limitation for a bank to go for the range of services that are not really connected to the financial industry. So other industries may participate really well. Also, they service and educate underbank. This is where BPC participated in a project and established a digital bank in South Africa called Time Bank. Currently, they have 3 million customers with 700 kiosks installed in supermarkets, and their model was very, very successful. And they are able to create a card within 5 minutes with the kiosk capturing all the initial details with scanning and recognizing the supporting documents like local IDs, and they also captured the biometrics data. So they got the 3 billion customers really quickly, and it's appeared to be that probably to partner with some retail networks to extend the customer reach could be one of the ideas for the digital bank. Also, Tonic Bank in Philippines, they chosen probably the similar model because they approach their customers in coffee shops, but the deployment model is really different. In contrast to Time Bank, who installed everything on premise and used and managed themselves, Tonic Bank in Philippines, they decided to outsource almost everything except sales and marketing. So these days, running a bank outside is no longer a problem, is no longer an issue. We could propose the software as a service model, we could propose on-premise model, we could propose cloud-based environment, and so on. So it's actually the capabilities that emerged probably the last couple of years, but it's worth looking at them as well. So we believe that the future neobank has a couple of distinctive features, and well, we could talk about the voice and conversational banking. We believe that the chatbot, as people approach it, is no longer a communication channel; it's a transacting channel. So you could talk to your phone and do the transactions. In fact, the properly built virtual assistants in the chatbot channel could basically replace the whole mobile app. And building the effective bot like that is another challenge. But anyway, these are the capabilities that are provided by the modern tech. With the SMEs and business focus, of course, financing, connecting to the marketplace. Being onboarded as a buyer or a seller on a marketplace, at the same time having the financing product associated with all the trading statistics that's being captured in the marketplace, that helps a lot. This invaluable data, and from that perspective, we think that SMEs with the merchant selling QR code selling apps, with the customer registration, cash in, cash out capabilities at a small merchant could be the winning combination. We also believe that personal artificial intelligence advisors help in the financial education of the previously underbanked, underserviced audiences. And it's a big one. Remember about the kids products, supervised products, elders at risks, people, so they need assistance, and the AI works really, really well for them. And of course, a white label partner and banking as a service and banking as a platform is the emerging model. These days, there are propositions that go in this direction, and is no longer a bank required just to provide the banking services. And of course, the super app, building the ecosystem. So what's so different about the super app? The super app is actually the type of the application that allows for the virtually unlimited expansion of the services with the app without rebuilding, republishing app. I'm talking from a technical perspective. And why it's happening? Because we expect the generations crossover and there are changes coming in disposable income distribution. There is statistics captured that we have 2029 that the crossover year for the generations to come. So millennials will take over the majority of the disposable income distribution and Zoomers to follow. So we're facing new generations and they experience with the mobile applications and the new devices is of course different. So they expect experience compared to the services-based applications previously. And they have absolutely no loyalty. Like I said, they may have five to seven different applications from different digital banks sitting on their phone, and they have no issue with them. So they can take one product from one, the second product from the another one, and so on. They are not really stick with the single financial entity. So that's the difference about them. And they are actually underbanked because they don't like banks. They switch to big fintech. So the big tech, Facebook, Twitter, Apple, and Google, they actually use the services primarily from these big tech companies, and they expect something that mimics or emulates their approach to talk to them. From that perspective, why super apps became so popular? Super app is an extendable app. So there are many mini apps inside the single app. So small mini apps with minimum clicks, they have better conversion compared to multi-featured apps. That's already proven and confirmed by the industry. The numbers that are shown here in a slide actually talking about WeChat statistics, but it's very similar about other apps, and WeChat is not the single one, of course, probably the most popular, but there is a range of other super apps already appeared, and they have 7 times better RPU compared just to communication app. They have easy onboarding. Why is that? Because they're onboarding once, and then they use the personal details of the customer for all other apps without actually going to extra sources. They collect and store and use customer information continuously from all the available channels they're about to reach. And the loan approval may happen within 3 minutes. So it is the stats again for the super apps. There is no any other loan application that can do that in 3 minutes without going outside with the verification databases, validation databases, and so on. And they have very wide coverage. The new feature on our mini app launch targets different customer segments, minimizing product launch failures. You can imagine that if you run the app for several million customers at the same time from different customer niches, there will be some success. You can be sure. Getting the advantage of the wide audience, this is why super app is very popular. And again, 1+ million mini apps available for WeChat. For Alipay, it's about, the latest statistics says 120,000 apps available. So mini functions, mini features included in one app work really well. And of course, they provide the search engine. You can find them in the app itself. There is specific there is a specific search engine associated with the mini apps, and they are very effective. So it's basically an ecosystem and a marketplace. You can think either direction, but in essence, they start from user experience and communications channel as a first one. So they have messaging, they have calls, they have navigation, they have search engine, course, you need to find something specific for you in the 1 million apps. So they have news feeds, they have localization features for multi-country enrollments. And of course, having all this information available in the app itself, they provide the financials and payments. They have e-wallet, they have QR purchases with the local or international standard. They have transfers and remittance. They have payments, including bill payments, of course, loans and financing in 3 minutes. And they have rewards program, various kinds. And on top of that, of course, they have services. So public services, transportation tickets of all sorts, public buses, metro, and shuttle and taxi services, typically coupled together with transportation, movie tickets, hotel bookings, everything that serves the lifestyle. So in essence, the super app talks to the customer, and the super app actually asks the customer what he wants, and provides all the services for the lifestyle of a customer. This is why super app is really important, and BPC actually provides the super app capability as a part of a BPC digital bank suite. So we have everything to start a digital bank from scratch, and we have the backend products, we have switching products, and of course we have mobile apps. And for the mobile apps, we provide the super app capability, combining the features from different customer roles, and we are able to combine consumer, merchant, and agent banking applications in one platform. We think that this is the advantage, and as long as we not really limiting ourselves, talking to specific consumer banking, we basically provide the business-focused features for merchants, for agents. This is what we believe could be the combination of the services and capabilities for the modern digital banking app. We no longer think that this is just the consumer banking, because the super app has proven for everyone that probably serving the customer a lifestyle, whether the customer is just a regular consumer, or the customer is the small and medium enterprise merchant, and or provides the additional agent banking services, being at the same time an SME. We think that the combination of all that increases the audience and the reach to other customer niches really effectively. And this is what I had for today's session, talking about the super apps. And well, I will hand over then back to Nadia.
Thank you. Thank you, Oleg, for this very insightful presentation. Before we move on to the Q&A, we have very interesting question from the audience, Oleg. How do the 5 minutes banks address the KYC and the sanctions related regulatory requirements while onboarding new clients at a kiosk in a mall? So of course, this can be to a surprise, but this is quite, and they've been very successful time back with this approach. So can you let us know more about this KYC and requirements approach?
Well, the big thing about this is that the kiosk device is quite a sophisticated one. So the device captures and recognizes the documents, and also captures customer face and fingerprint. So the biometrics was included in the initial mandatory set of requirements just to provide the immediate debit card issuance. And remember, it's not a credit card. So it's a debit card that's a prepaid product. So the town bank, they were very smart, starting from very limited product first. So customers actually on board with the product that does a couple of transactions, a couple of features. But later on, It's upgraded after some time when the time bank sees that this card is being used very effectively, and there are many transactions happening and there are lots of top-ups. So probably the card should be upgraded to the credit product afterwards. So this was the strategy. So for the South Africa, it worked really well. For some countries, I'm aware that regulations are really strict. So we can't really onboard the customer through the remote channels. We can't give even the virtual card product for the customers without visiting a branch or some facility when they can verify the customer. But with the face mesh technologies, there are countries that allow to opt for the wallet products for very simple very simple cards, and it's not the new story actually, because the international payment scheme started with prepaid card products. They're just given away in airports, and this is probably a very similar model, and it was very effective for South Africa. I can't really say it will be the same for other countries depending on their regulations, but this is what happened for Time Bank.
Thank you, Oleg. And if I may add to this as well, I think a lot of the innovative banks lately have had very good engagements with regulators to make them change, to make them move, to open up the access to innovative way to onboard clients as well. So I would say if banks, join forces and talk to regulators, there's ways to make this move as well. So especially some of the regulators in APAC are very innovative, like Singapore. So in other places as well. So communication has to happen, and we know that regulators sometimes takes time, and it's about customer protection first, but definitely this communication has to happen and to unlock new services as well. Thank you, Oleg, for this session. So before we move to the next part of the Q&A, we have a short poll which we would like to answer. So the question will display on your screen. So we would like to know if you are planning to launch a digital bank or a super app within the next 12 months, especially as in the market, there's a lot of newcomers coming. Is this something that you're planning? Yes or no? So the result will display in a short while. We'll give it a few minutes for everyone to answer and display the results accordingly. Perfect. So once you select your choice, please submit. Give it 2 more minutes. Perfect. I think we can display the results now. Perfect. So we can see that 40% are planning to launch a digital bank within the next 12 months as part of their strategy. 63% are not planning, are probably, in different line of services, or probably already have had their digital transformation ongoing. But that will show that the session might be very useful to you. So for those 40%, make sure to download the guide that we have at the end of the session as well. We will now move on to our Q&A session. So let me now welcome our second guest, Mr. Sokha, connecting from from Cambodia, joining us from Bank SBI Vihur. Mr. Sokha is a digital banking expert, very well recognized in Cambodia for the work he's done in digital transformation in other regions in APAC as well. You currently carry the role of Senior Advisor, Digital Financial Service, Banking Operation and Technology at Bank SBI Vihur. So we thank you for being with us. And can't wait to hear from your vision of digital banks and if that follows the super apps concept as well. So Oleg, I will let you lead the session from now on for this fireside chat, and I will come back at the end for a summary of the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia, and thank you, Mr. Sokha, for joining us from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. And can you please let us know more about the financial landscape in your country? You're on mute.
Thank you, Alex and Nadia, for the nice presentation. I'm happy to be part of this panel discussion. As you know, Cambodia is in the center of ASEAN countries with young populations and dynamic economies. The government has regulated the banking landscape in line with the international standards. And as you know that recently, National Bank of Cambodia adopted and promoted the BACOM system, which allows interbank or inter-institutional transfers easy and possible. And this was quite difficult in the past. So it's a vibrant economy, and it's comprised of microfinance, fintech, and a regional bank and international banks present in the country. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we know that SBI Liawer has been in the country for years, both from a partnership from leading financial institution SBI from Japan and conglomerate Liawer, and with these assets from both SBI and Liawer, what do you think that's a perfect blend to launch a super app for Cambodia?
Yeah, there's no difference from Cambodia as compared to the rest of the world. As you know that the Industrial Revolution force has allowed business to go faster and further. So both partnerships have give us the best opportunity and the best leverage of each other. So as Cambodian, most of Asians appreciate and acknowledge the Japanese product and service. So the same as a bank in Cambodia, and so the international community has focused into this vibrant economy. So I hope that it play a big part as a role model for those who want to grow and want to pilot their ideas. So it's the government also quite open to support those initiatives.
Okay, okay. And if we look about the potential customer base for that, where do you look at primarily? I mean, retail customers or businesses, SMEs, or individual entrepreneurs? What will be your focus?
Thank you. Cambodia is a young economy, and currently and recently there is a lot of focus on the microfinance, micro SME. So people who contribute to the bigger and larger economy is coming from the micro SME, and even it's already presented by world-class research. And if you look at that portion, it fits quite well to the Lihu microfinance in the past, and with the acquisition from SBI Holding make us become even stronger. So our portfolio is contributed from micro, small SMEs, and relatively small in the largest multinational company. And another part is the consumer. We noticed that consumer and customer, individual customer is more demanding as compared to the past. And with the openness, you heard about the personal finance or P2P, person-to-person fund transfer. It makes everything possible. For example, a street vendor want to accept digital payment. They can onboard quickly into the system and then start to accept for their trading. So that is everything is possible.
Okay, and if we take this as an example, what do you think? What is required to do with SBI Liawer, and how you will shape it to meet these demands?
Yeah, we look at human capital is a big thing, and as you see, the rest of the world, we lack of digital mindset. We have a lot of bankers that used to sell banking products, saving account, current account, deposit, lending, but we lack a lot of bankpreneur. So it's a banker that adopted entrepreneurial spirit, understand a deeper customer relationship, and stay together with them and grow and support them in this difficult time, especially nowadays. You see that most of the business have impacted by the pandemic, and there's no difference in this country. So we need a bank that fully understand the customer needs and demand, and especially support them, continue to support them during difficult time. Not only the best time, but the difficult time. They need the banker who understand their full demand.
Well, talking about you as a very well-known and reputed digital banking professional, what will be your personal vision for the best digital banking experience?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Alex. As you highlighted, super app is a must for everyone now. It's very typical. In the past, we used to go to the market, and then it starts with the supermarket. Now, the same, there's no difference in the banking. You have a single app that work alone, but now there is no more the case. Everything's combined together. I can plan my trip within a single app. I can chat with my friend. I can share bill. I can do many things. I can talk to the banking advisor to get my financial planning. So I think the best to go is to adopt sooner or later the super app principle. Yeah.
Okay, like you said, that there are definitely some customer niches that feel underserviced, underbanked, and they need to be financially included anyway. What do you think? Is it possible to solve these financial inclusion issues or challenges through these digital propositions? I mean, with the super apps and digital banking apps. Have you got my question, Mr. Sokha?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, I have difficult to my.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just one thing that I wanted to highlight a little bit, that solving the financial inclusion issues. What do you think, from your perspective as a professional? These digital banking apps, the super apps, are they really a choice just to solve this financial inclusion challenge? Probably in your country, probably in a couple of other countries. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I think financial inclusion and financial literacy is a very big agenda from for various government and various economy the same. They study that the more included, the prosperous they are. So I think the adoption of digital financial service is not a choice. It must be a first adoption, but it depends on the economy, the government, the consumer to go with that. And in Cambodia, there's a lot of inclusivity, a large gap between the province and the urban cities. So adoption of a digital financial service is a good move. Yeah, and at the same time, people need to be educated, to be trained. I appreciate your presentation that some of the market, they already have a kid account, saving account. They start to do some transactions even when they are very young age.
Okay. And talking about the technology perspective and being a part of a technology company also, what do you think? Are you experiencing some shift in tech these days, or some focus points in providing better experiences? We all know that the digital banks, they use the latest technologies available. So what will be the big things in terms of digital banking from a technology perspective?
Yeah, very good question. I see that, yeah, I agree that a lot of technology available in the market, and the bank need to make a choice. And some bank or some economy, it become a victim of their own technology, because then they cannot improve, they cannot bring the added values to their company. But the fundamental rule, I think, is to understand the customer, where is the customer base, and then what are the needs, and then we need to support and build them with what I call is the endless possibility. Because banking is no longer the place that people must go. I must go home every day, but I don't need to go to bank every day. And the moment I go, the bank need to surprise me, need to provide me the best service with their technology. And when the customer use technology, for example, an ATM, a POS machine, or a mobile, it must be up 24 hours and every minute and second. And the moment it breaks down, it dilutes their service. So the principle of customer experience must be maintained at the highest standard. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And the last one from my side. Actually, Nadia just provided this very nice poll, and we have 40% people who won't start the digital bank, the 60% they don't want. So we have quite a representation of different types of financial institutions, and there are different perspectives on that. So what will be your tip for both of them, for those who will start the digital bank and for those who will wait probably? What will be your advice?
Yeah, it is a very good pool. And for me, I think that sorry, give me. The pool say 40% will adopt digital finance in the next 12 months, and the 60% maybe they already done it, and I'm not sure. But if you ask me and allow me to talk, there is no more time to lose. You need to do it quick, fast, because the customer, as you mentioned, is waiting and waiting. So I don't see any bank that go without digital finance. So that is my message. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, we would agree with you as well. So yes, there's definitely no time to lose anymore. Thank you for very nice conversation and very good insights. And thank you for expertise. And back to Nadia. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sokha.
Thank you, Alex.
Nadia on mute.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning. So thank you both for your very useful information. We have a couple of questions, and I will start with one which is directed to Mr. Sokha. Has Cambodian Central Bank launched its digital banking framework?
I didn't hear you correctly, Nadia, the last part.
No problem. Has the Central Bank in Cambodia launched its digital banking framework?
Some part, yeah. As you see that the National Bank of Cambodia is very and quite active in digital space. And recently, there's a framework of information technology risk guideline adopted, and as well as the go for the inter-institutional openness network called Bakong. So that is a new platform to allow that not only bank, microfinance, PSP, or even insurance company can participate, and they can do a cross platform transfer and in a very cost effective, very fast and convenient. And it become somehow it become a role model for some of the central banker in the region. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for this answer. I have one more question for you. Do you find it difficult for banks to approve projects during COVID-19? How do you overcome those challenges? Do you feel that the projects are being accelerated, or it's more difficult to get them through?
Yeah, very good question. And I think it's not different from the other region. Yeah, because it's a world crisis, worldwide impact. So obviously, we face a lot of challenge when we do the project during this period, and in particular, Cambodia is lack of the expertise in the country. So we rely mostly on offshore, and so we face a typical challenge like time zone, different language, different cultures, but make us even stronger and further collaboration thanks to the technologies. As even now you have a different time zone, and we are on the same conference call together remotely, and it
Absolutely
saves us time and money as well. So it's pro and con. It depends on individual that choose to go and see it make leverage of those opportunities.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Ross. So I have one more question for you, Oleg. So I have Kai asking which kind of backend system are used to build a digital bank? Do they use traditional core banking systems, or do they use light cloud version?
Well, that's a very good question, actually, because when we go into the back-end history of the first digital bank entrance, they actually haven't used heavyweight core banking systems. They built something themselves. So this was the time when everybody was developing their own, let's say, core banking solutions. And they were not considered core banking because the systems that they created, they serviced really focused purposes. So they don't have that much around risk, compliance, liquidity management that's typically required for the traditional bank. And they started as the e-money providers first, and wallet products, and then eventually proceeded with the full-fledged financial banking license. So to start a digital bank and to start the super app, you may not need the heavyweight core banking solution and use the cloud-based services provided by the number of companies. From that perspective, it's always worth looking at the set of products that you are going to concentrate. I mean, when you start the digital banking experience. And some of them may be really, really not that demanding in terms of core banking features. And this was proven by the first entrance. These days, there are cloud providers of core banking services. There are also service companies that provide core banking as a service for themselves, even managed service. I would say it's always starting from the initial product setup or minimum viable product for a digital bank. Whether it requires the big and heavy core banking solution or not, it depends on the initial product. So if we take again a look at how other people doing, some of them don't have any core banking solution, just like we understand core banking.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Oleg. We have one more question for you from Glenn Harris. Are the super apps under the same regulatory compliance as the defined nominated digital bank licenses?
Well, I don't see any specific regulation coming for the super app. Of course, depending on the limitations and restrictions set up by the local regulator for the other industries, because I think the challenges may come from the perspective when we connect different industries all together. So there is one regulation for financing, there is another one for insurance, for instance, and we need to comply with both when we build the super app that contains both sets of products like that. But this is where we basically are not building ourselves, because super app is a partnership. It's a marketplace. So it's where other providers already compliant to local regulators present their services. And there are various upsell and cross-sell capabilities in super app environment. And this is how the apps, the super apps themselves, they are not different from any other applications that published in the app stores. Another thing is that probably there will be some interesting regulatory aspects that related to the payment capabilities of the apps. And I think the industry was a little bit shaken just recently about this clash. You know about it. That's Apple vs Epic Games. When you represent some interesting payment capability in your app that contradicts with the App Store policies, that could be the issue. But from the local regulation perspective, I don't see any, because we're already connecting to the established providers, and they already comply with the regulations of the industry that they are working in.
Perfect. Thank you, Oleg. So I think we covered all questions, so probably time to wrap up. So I think as a summary, it was very interesting to see that the pandemic has created different segments of customers that are growing, especially the freelancers, the immigrants, people in need of assistance and custodian, SMEs, teens, and travelers. We have identified that in 2029, there will be a crossover of generation between millennial and the Zoomer, which means that a lot of banks are focusing on those segments as well. And while financial institutions are looking into their profitability, a digital bank with a card and an account is not sufficient. mentioned. We are now looking at building super apps with partners, generating new revenues through value-add services, but not building everything on your own. So really partnering to winning the client's experience. So having mini apps, leveraging on the KYC information that the bank is holding, and providing this new experience for the customers to build their own bank the way they want to. Mr. Sokha also stated that we need a bank that fully understands its customer needs during the pandemic, and super apps are becoming common. Everything is combined. You can plan your trip, you can contact an advisor, all of it from the same app. But his recommendation also to all of his peers is to really adapt soon as the super app approach. You need to be first to adopt. You need to include, educate, especially in markets where there's a lot of unbanked, and especially when there's a big gap between urban and people in remote areas that need access to finance. Education there is key. And there is no more time to lose. So if I may quote you as well. So I think that was quite of an insightful session, and I hope you all enjoyed the session. I would like to request the audience to take a moment to complete, I would say, the feedback form to give us, feedback, and to also, bring to you new topics that might be of interest, and also get your level of satisfaction of today's content. As mentioned earlier, we have a free guide on how to successfully build a digital bank. This has been created with a neobank research agency called FinCog. They focus on building the right value proposition when you build a new bank, and we collaborate with them in this paper with the contribution of Oleg Patsiansky as well. So feel free to scan the QR code and download your copy. And to close, this session, I would like to thank again Mr. Sokha for joining us, from Cambodia this afternoon, and Mr. Oleg Patsiansky for sharing this insightful presentation. Thank you all, and we look forward to meet again at next webinar soon. Thanks for connecting today.
Thank you.